defensive about it.
Yes, people, what's happening? Welcome back to the channel. Welcome to another live stream. And welcome to another day at the circus. A bit of a shit show. Again, the transfer window's shut, but the bad news continues to roll in. Marc Guiu is going to be missing for what was described as a number of weeks. Nicholas Jackson, injury described as not a big one, but for Chelsea, that could mean 2 weeks could not be a big one. But like, he's a risk for Saturday's game against Brighton. We've also got the news with obviously the Todd Boehly ticket stuff and all that sort of thing as well, which has been getting a lot of the headlines recently. And of course, we're going to look ahead to the FA Cup game as well. And my internet is moving dog shit, so I'm going to switch and hotspot to my phone. But Dan, how are we doing, mate?
Yeah, all good. Pleasure to be on the channel. Away from football, I'm fine. I feel like football gets me down a bit at the moment with how Chelsea have been, to be honest with you, because I feel like we're in such a good position only a matter of, months ago now, probably 2 months. And I feel like the fall off and the calamity that is Chelsea at the moment has just been like ridiculous. And I feel like it's so preventable and not much has been done about it sort of being stopped. But yeah, for myself, I'm all good. So yeah. What about you, Charlie?
Yeah. Yeah, sorry. Yeah, all good, mate. Sorry.
I was just joking because I saw that you'd froze.
Oh, no, I'd froze. I've got to switch up to a little hotspot settings because for some reason, internet was moving mad. Guys in the chat, let me know. Is the internet still dog shit? If we're good, then... Yeah, no, we're good. We're back in the mix. Don't know what was going on there. I was moving in minus 4K, but we're back. Yeah, bro, it's been a mad one. The window was terrible. And then we get the news that obviously Marc Guiu is out for a number of weeks now. And Nicholas Jackson is also a doubt. I mean, by the way, the press conference was a shambles. It was about 3 minutes long today. Unfortunately, with Marc, it's a bad injury. It doesn't look like a short one. Nico's better. Doesn't look like a long one. I mean, that doesn't really tell us an awful lot. But again, it just goes back to it, doesn't it, mate? We were talking before we come on air that when you make decisions like we've made in January and in the summer as well, this is not just a January issue, this is a summer issue as well, where you actively choose not to sign a centre forward. When you play stupid games, you're asking to be punished. Now, I'm not saying people say to me, oh yeah, but it's difficult to sign players in January. Oh, we don't want to waste money on the wrong players. No one's saying go and get your number one target in January. If that's not possible, no problem. But do something. Are you telling me there's not a single striker in world football that we could have signed and bought in for 6 months or on a 2 or 3 year contract to help tie us over? What are your thoughts on this? It's kind of just typical, really, isn't it? It sort of sums us up at the moment.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, you said it was potentially a 2 window issue. For me, it's probably a 4. I feel like
more than that. Yeah, agreed.
Yeah, we've been crying out for a striker probably a level above Jackson since we lost. I mean, even the likes of Giroud, but probably even before that, like Diego Costa. I feel like we've never really replaced those sort of players in the team. And I feel like Jackson's been a good stopgap, but no one better has come in. I mean, we got Lukaku, but that just obviously didn't work out. So since Lukaku, I guess, and that signing, our attempt at recruitment to replace that position has just been, I think, woeful. I think if they thought Nkunku was that, they completely misprofiled him. I think the transfer window was an absolute mess. The fact that we're in a position before the transfer window to still fight for the Champions League places in the Premier League is great. Let's strengthen, let's cement that into position and make sure we get Champions League football. Well, what have we done? We've ended up weaker on the other side of it, which is absolutely crazy because as much as we've sort of slated the João Felix transfer in the past, because we both sort of agreed that it was almost pointless at the time, we now look so silly by not bringing in another striker because as much as Marc Guiu might be a talented player with a lot of potential, realistically, if that's who you had to rely upon if anything happened to Jackson, I don't think he'd be good enough to get us Champions League football right now. I think he's a good player, but I think he's got to develop.
He didn't even trust him until he played on the first game of the season. He came on as a sub, and then from August,
Jackson was injured or not fit.
I think he just came on late on. But then from August until January, he didn't play once in the Premier League. So you weren't even trusting this guy.
Barely started in the Conference League.
Yeah, you weren't even trusting this guy, and now you're in a position where you have to trust him. And like for me, bro, I just look at
Premier League.
Yeah, I just look at this, right? Jackson is physically and mentally knackered, right? He's out of form. His confidence is low. So now Jackson has to keep playing, or he might not even be able to play at all in this game, or he gets replaced by Nkunku, who can't play up front and doesn't want to play up front either. So when I look at this,
which then basically means we've got 10 men on the pitch when he's
exactly. So when I look at this, right, when you're building a squad, and I sent you a screenshot of one of the comments. I get these comments all the time, right? Oh, you could do it. If you know so much, why don't you be the sporting director? It's not about me. Just because I'm not a sporting director, I can't give an opinion. Like it's nonsense. But please, can the people that defend these directors, please tell me how when you're building any squad, how not having more than one actual senior striker is a good idea. We started the season, right, with a raw, but look, progressing 23-year-old in Nicholas Jackson. So he's really about a year and a half into being a number 9. He was more of a left inside forward at Villarreal. And then within Nkunku, you'd say he's sort of, at best, you'd say he's like a 9.5. And then you've got an 18-year-old, or I think he's 19 now, whatever, not ready for Premier League minutes. Who could have predicted it going anything other than badly? Jackson's poor run of form started after the Brentford game in the middle of last month. Okay, Guiu wasn't being used at that point, and Nkunku wanted to leave. So our answer was to do absolutely nothing about signing a striker or solving the problem. And yet you've still got people defending what's been going on. I can't understand it.
Yeah, no, I don't think there's possibly any way that it can be defended with a sensible defense now. I feel like no matter how you try to defend what's happened at the club, there are so many holes in the way that the squad's been put together, the way it's been built, the money that's been spent. There's just way too many issues. And I think 90% of Chelsea fans are sat here looking at it thinking, we've spent 1.5, 1.6 billion pounds. How on earth have we landed in this position 4 windows down the line? It's just, there isn't, in my opinion, a set of sporting directors or another sporting director on their own making this many errors when it comes to building their squads. If they're serious about winning, and even if they're trying to survive in the Premier League or mid-table or in other leagues around the world, I feel like Chelsea sporting directors have made so many mistakes that, quite honestly, the pressure should be on them more than anyone else at the club. Because, it got to the point with Robert Sanchez where there was obviously a push for him to be playing, right? And I sort of thought, it's almost unfair that he keeps getting picked because he quite obviously isn't good enough. And it's not his fault. And the sporting directors and the manager are obviously pushing to protect the asset and protect themselves, that they think he's good. They put them money into him and invested into him. And they want him to be probably a saleable asset at the end of the season, right? So I think it got to the point where they were trying to defend themselves and their own careers rather than improve the club. And I genuinely think that there can't be too many other sporting directors doing that in world football that I've seen to the extent that R2 are doing right now.
But do you know what the worst thing for me is, mate? There is absolutely zero level of accountability. Where is the accountability and people taking responsibility for the bullshit that's been going on? How can you sign 3 players for best part of £100 million 6 months ago, and then 6 months later, they're all available to leave the club and 2 of them leave? Felix gone, Vega gone, Dewsbury Hall was available to leave, didn't end up leaving because we actually couldn't let him go. Yeah. In what way, in what
even
world,
Tosin had links. I know he was on a free transfer, but
in what world is that okay? In what world is that like, oh guys, well done, that's a good job?
I'd love to be a fly on the wall, Charlie, to hear what the conversation is with like the owner, and he's like, I've given you 100 million, 200 million. Why all of a sudden are they all for sale or all available at lower rates than what we've just paid for them?
And not only that, mate, we also set ridiculous asking prices. In what world are you going to get £60 million for Felix 6 months after you signed him and he started 3 Premier League games? In what world is that a £15 million increase on what you paid on him? 65, 70 million pounds for Nkunku. In what world has Nkunku done enough at Chelsea to warrant an increase on his value? Like what
Since
we're
we
doing,
bought him, he's now proved that he can't play in one position people thought he might have been able to. He has an injury history now that is unwanted, and he arguably hasn't played or been at the level that he was when we bought him. There's no way he would have increased in value. I don't understand where they get those prices from.
I've got absolutely no idea, mate. I don't understand what they're doing, you know. But people still defend it, and I'm looking at it. I'm thinking you've invested over £1 billion in this squad. No number 9, no top class centre back, no top class goalkeeper, and you probably need another number 6. How can you spend all that money on a squad and be essentially missing the spine of a team? That's unforgivable. That is unforgivable to be in that position. And then you see stuff in the Athletic, like I think yesterday it was, saying that the priority this summer is a striker and a winger. And I'm thinking, hang on a second, the priority is a winger, right? We've spent, well, I don't know what the exact numbers would be, but it would be over 250 million quid on wingers, pretty much. Sancho, loan and an obligation. Mudryk, we spent an initial £62.5 million. Sterling, we spent 50 million quid or whatever when he came. Neto, around 50 million quid. Madueke, around 30 million. And in Nkunku, okay, he wasn't really signed as a winger as per se, but that's 52 million quid. And he has played there and it's been used there, even though it wasn't predominantly for him. So you're looking at that, right? Rough maths, around 250, maybe a bit more. So £250 million spent on wingers, right? You've got Esteval Willian coming in the summer, and that position is still, and that position is still viewed as a priority in the market. And yet people have got trust in these people that are building the squad. How is a winger still a priority with all that money you spent on wingers? How is that still a priority?
Cole Palmer and Felix have still played out wide as well, so you could even add them to the mix. That I know they probably weren't recruited as wingers, but they were probably recruited as viable options to play out there. I think they've probably looked at that position and thought that's the position where it's probably the most valuable position in football, maybe other than a real out-and-out goal scorer. And they probably felt like they could buy those players cheap and potentially that's where their biggest opportunities lie. If those players start to thrive, I mean, look at Cole Palmer, for example, 40 million. He's now thrived. He's probably tripled, quadrupled his value.
Yeah.
So that's probably what they're looking at is opportunity. If we get Sancho for 25 million, all of a sudden he starts absolutely flying, they'll make their money back on him twofold.
Agreed. But the Palmer thing, though, is very much an outlier because for every Cole Palmer, you're gonna have your Mudryks, you're gonna have your those kind of signings.
Have you seen James Lawrence Alcott's like methodology and theory as to why Chelsea are doing this sort of scattergun approach?
No.
Right. So there was when we were linked with Garnacho, because obviously we were trying to cite and spend all that money on him as well. Apparently.
Yeah.
There's a video that he put out which is worth a watch afterwards, right? And he basically explains this methodology around this scattergun approach, and I think he's hit the nail on the head. He basically sort of summarized that we're playing the lottery, and for every one that we get, we'll benefit massively, and they'll be good enough for the first team, and everyone else, they hope that they can be good enough just to keep us ticking over and sell them on, hopefully, for a profit on the books. Maybe not in terms of exchange, but on the books. But the video was titled "Why Garnacho to Chelsea is Perfect" or something along those lines.
Yeah. But that's what we're doing, mate. It's a numbers game. We're just chucking stuff at the wall, and if you chuck enough stuff at the wall, a few things will inevitably stick, and a few things have stuck. But you like even now, right? Looking at some of Maresca's comments today, he was asked about the January window. And you see these comments here. Are you happy with the business? We did all the things we need in terms of players we need to leave and players we wanted. We did everything we needed. This is just an outright lie. It's just a barefaced lie. Yeah. And look, I get it. He probably has to toe the company line, and he can't come out and say, "Oh no, the window was terrible. I didn't get X, Y, Z." I get it. You can't say that, right? But everyone knows this is a barefaced lie. He wasn't happy with the window at all. He wanted a striker. He wanted a midfielder. Didn't get, well, we got Matisse Amugu, but how much he's going to play, I've got no idea. But he didn't get what he wanted. And we know this to just be an absolute out-and-out barefaced lie. Plus, with the Nkunku stuff as well, I don't know if you saw his comments on Nkunku saying, that Nkunku wanted to stay. We're happy to keep him. It was like, mate, he wanted to go. Yeah. He wanted to go. We
And I think
planned since
Chelsea wanted to
December to
sell him
keep
if
in
the money
Kunku.
was right.
They did. We planned since December to keep in Kunku. It was our intention.
I saw
No,
that.
it wasn't your intention because you agreed personal terms with Bayern Munich and you set an asking price for him. And if that was met, you were going to ship him on.
Yeah. Or if
Like,
they would have given us Tell in exchange, you probably would have just swapped him
yeah.
straight.
So what are we doing here? We all know what happened with Nkunku. We all know that he was pretty close to leaving, and Maresca is just outright lying, saying that he wanted to keep him. You know, I'm fed up with this, mate. Do they honestly think we're stupid, that we're idiots?
Yeah,
And
no,
now
they do.
I like Maresca, by the way, but in terms of when it comes to transfers and players, I don't believe a word that he says. I don't believe
I've got a
word
question
that he
for you,
says anymore.
Charlie, around Maresca, because I feel like I quite like him too. And I think actually probably under the Roman ownership, I actually think he would have been quite a probably like really respected manager. And I think actually he probably fits what Chelsea is in a way, because I can kind of see that he's got that mentality and he's passionate and he sort of could connect with the fans, I think. I feel like, and I don't know whether you agree, whether or not he's being used as a scapegoat on like and being told to put out this PR and these lies, because at first when he come in, I thought he was really honest about Trevor Chalobah and a couple other players, and I was like, look, I think it's a step too soon to be that honest about a player you've not even seen play a game yet for you competitively. But fair play, I respect your honesty. Now it's turned out that was a lie, and a number of other things have been proven to be a lie. I don't know if they're just putting him out there as like the puppet and they're the masters behind the scene, and he's just being basically advised to lie to protect the image of the club.
Mate, that's exactly what they're doing. You know, Chalobah, a prime example. 6 months ago, this guy wasn't a good fit for the system. They didn't believe that, you know, he could play how Maresca wanted to play. 6 months later, he's back and he's the perfect fit suddenly. It's all bullshit. We're just being lied to constantly. And look, the manager's put in a very difficult position because at the end of the day, the sporting director has just used the manager as a shield, you know, and really, they just use the manager to take the heat for what's going on. Why, after transfer windows, is there not? Why? I mean, I think the Napoli sporting director did it. He did a press conference. Whether he's telling the truth or not, we don't know. But the Napoli sporting director did a press conference about, you know, why we didn't get Garnacho, why they did X, Y, Z things. Why do these sporting directors just get away with it and never come out and say anything? And whenever they come out and say anything, all they do is just pat themselves on the back and say, oh, this was the plan all along, you know. Oh, you know, yeah, great. We've laid some groundwork for potential deals in the summer and blah, blah, blah. It's just like, guys, what's like, how stupid do they think we are as fans? And with Maresca, he's in a really difficult position. And it's not just him. It's anyone that manages Chelsea under this current structure is in a very difficult position because they know full well, and we saw it towards the end of Pochettino's reign, where he started becoming more outspoken against the ownership and what was going on towards the end. You could tell that he just had enough and he was fed up. And like, I get to a certain point, I'm not saying that Maresca's going to walk, but the way that we're run, the way that the squad's been built, the way that, you know, things that he asked for gets ignored, I look at that and I think, I get to a situation where if we miss out on if we don't qualify for the Champions League, which I actually think there's a very good chance of that happening now, given the lack of action we took in January, I wouldn't be surprised at all, mate, if Maresca just walked at some point, you know, because I get it I think it's the same with players. I think it's the same with managers as well. Chelsea are promising a lot of stuff, I reckon, to get managers to come, to get players to come, which are just complete out and out lies.
I just can't. Maybe we know the club better than what these managers do, but I would, as a manager, of just what I've seen alone in the past 2 seasons, 3 seasons. I don't know how long they've been in. I'm trying to work it out. 3 years they've been in.
Yeah, it'd be 3 years in May.
This is the 3rd season, right? So, I wouldn't have any evidence there for me as a manager going into this job to believe that they were going to build me the best squad possible to go and compete for titles in the Premier League or compete for trophies in and around Europe. I believe they'd spend a lot of money, but I would believe it'd be on players that wouldn't be deemed good enough and could potentially get there one day or be opportunities. I don't think Maresca walks. And the only reason this is because of financial reasons. He signed a 5-year deal. I genuinely believe he'll self-sabotage, which I think is the equivalent of walking, right? And like Poch did a little bit, speak out, be vocal. Antonio Conte at Spurs did exactly the same. Self-sabotage the relationship between him, the sporting directors, the club, the fans, you know, make himself the villain, and they'll go, we've got no option, results down the drain. It's exactly like he loses his support from anyone in the club, they'll have to sack him. He'll walk off with a payday, and ultimately that's him cutting ties with I think what is one of the biggest messes of a high-profile club in European football history currently going on in front of our eyes.
We are like, it is incredible, like why we're not in a bad position, by the way. We're fourth, but again, the window. Okay, we did nothing. We're competing with the likes of Newcastle, Man City, Villa, and Nottingham Forest, right?
Yeah.
Forest, everyone keeps saying that Forest is going to fall away. They're not. They're still there.
They strengthened.
Okay? They strengthened a little bit. Nothing major. They didn't lose anyone, which is massive. Okay,
maybe a Wanyi, but he's barely played.
Yeah, but Newcastle didn't really do anything, but that team's very good. And obviously Man City massively strengthened, and Villa added players as well. So two of the three teams
we strengthened Villa, which is absolutely ludicrous, by the way.
Two of the three teams that we're competing with for the top 4 or top 5, potentially, depending on whether fifth gets Champions League or not, strengthen their squads. We made our squad worse, and we're still expecting to finish in the top 4. People, look, we could finish in the top 4 still. I'm not saying it's impossible, right? But given the injuries we're going to have, given the fact that we're literally threadbare squad now, given there's even less options than there were before, we have taken basically a ridiculous gamble. We've just basically gone top 4, and it's like we've just gone red or black on it. That's it. You know, we've taken decisions that show to me that we don't give a shit about finishing top 4 this season. We're not asked to become 4th. We're not asked if we get Champions League football or not.
Hasn't Maresca already said in one of his press conferences that he's happy if we finish 4th, 5th, 6th?
Yeah, in one of the press conferences, he said that he was told that top 4 wasn't the target this season. The top 4 was a target next season, and then the following season after that was a title challenge was the task. So, but then we know that's bullshit as well, because part of the reason that Poch went was because they didn't finish in the top 4, and it's just at a point now where I'm just like, I don't really believe at the moment in anything we're doing. Like, I've lost a lot of faith in. Don't get me wrong. There's some good things, and on the pitch, you know, Maresca's done a good job. We have played some good football, and if anyone said come February we'd be 4th, we would have all taken it. Yeah. But again, there's a lot of worrying signs that were there last season, that were there the season before, that are starting to rear their heads again. And if nothing changes, then nothing's going to change. If whatever that saying is, but for me, the problem at Chelsea is greater than the manager. And until those directors go, it doesn't matter who's in that hot seat. You're going to have a rinse and repeat cycle, because they all use the manager as the shield, and they can seemingly do absolutely no wrong. And as we've touched on, you can tell these guys have never built a squad before. And I've spoken about this with loads of people. You look at the history of the Premier League and just football in general, right? Nobody's won anything major building a squad in the way that we're looking to build it. So what have these guys seen that makes them think they can be the exception and the outlier to the rule?
I completely agree with you. I feel like we've, since day dot of the takeover, we've completely tried to do it in a completely different way to what any other like proof in the pudding method has ever done before. And I feel like for a while I was very skeptical of that. And then I feel like maybe towards the beginning of this season, when Maresca in the form and it all started to look like it was finally clicking, I feel like, okay, we'll give it an opportunity. Like, it looks like there's a bit of proof here that they might have an idea of what they're doing. Very quickly, that got undone. And once again, we're back here sort of scrutinizing their attempt at trying to do football differently compared to any other team. And I think quite obviously, success on the pitch is no longer the priority at the club. Success in the business side of the club is the number one priority for me.
But the funny thing is with that, though, right? I agree with the actions that they've taken. But then the funny thing is, right, the quickest way to get success and make money is by winning. Yeah. So it's kind of like
the quickest way to generate profit on players is by having them win games of football, look good, look better. And the quickest way to generate more money is to be in the best competitions and win the biggest prizes in the game. And the fact that we're not doing that is crazy. People in the comments asking why I gave him the benefit of the doubt. I don't think you can deny that at moments earlier on this season, we were playing some of the best football in the league. We looked absolutely fantastic.
But we've regressed. I think we've regressed to the means. Like, I'm not saying that this is our level currently that we're playing at, but this is more of an accurate representation of our current level than what we were doing earlier in the season was. Earlier in the season, we were playing better than anyone expected. We were one of the best teams in the league. And that was definitely, that was an overachievement. This very much now is kind of like this is more of our level. This is more of our level. And the problem that I've got is, right, it's all very well signing all these young players and stuff. Where are they going to play? Like, at what point who builds a squad with all the players at the same fucking age? No one does that, because when you sign 18, 19, 20-year-olds, they all need to play. So I'm looking at this and I'm thinking, right, okay, you signed another 19-year-old midfielder. What's the plan there? What's the plan for him? Like, you create a bottleneck effect and you put a cap on players' potential, because you sign all these youngsters. Some of them will play, some of them will get no minutes, and then some of them aren't going to develop the way that you think they are, and you're not going to make any money on them. Like, if this is truly going to work, not only do you need to put some experience in there, but you also need to acquire another club in the multi-club model, because you haven't got enough places to send all these guys. There's not enough international loan spots available to send these guys, where you need to send them. And the whole plan is basically looking at 3, 4, 5 years down the line. There is zero plan. What's the plan for the here and now? Where's that? Where's the plan for now? There isn't one.
Yeah, I feel like that's always the thing, isn't it? I feel like every season they've been in, it's like, no, next season, or 4 years down the line, 3 years down the line, 4 windows. It's always been somewhere in the distant future that we weren't looking at the very present. And I think that's been so obvious that we've finished, 12th, 5th, 6th, and potentially this season a similar sort of place. The problem for me is that one day those dates that were the distant future when they first come in, or a season ago, 2 seasons ago, were being suggested, they're going to be here sooner than everyone realizes. And I don't think we're going to be at the level everyone thought we needed to be at by the time we got there. And I think that's going to be really concerning. So I'm so disillusioned with how the board and the hierarchy of the club have acted from the get-go. I find it really difficult, like you say, to trust anything they do and believe they are moving this club in the right direction, because I just don't have any proof yet.
We've definitely, there's no doubt we've improved from last season in terms of the football that we're playing, in terms of the position in the table and whatnot. But in terms of the squad, I don't really think the squad's any better than it was last season, really, at this point right now. Okay, yeah, you've got Sancho and Neto, which we didn't have last season. But do you know what I mean? There's very little difference between the squad last season and the squad this season.
I think Raheem Sterling and Mudrik's output was probably better than Sancho and Neto's last year, than what theirs will be this season.
At the moment, it is right now. And,
I know people don't like Sterling, but I'm pretty sure he scored 7 or 8 goals.
He's got 7 or 8 goals, yeah. But, by the way, this is not amazing. We're at a low bar here, but it's obviously Neto scored.
But we haven't improved on that yet. I don't think if Neto finishes the season with 8 goals, or even Sancho, I'll be very surprised.
Yeah, no, I would be as well. Sancho's got 2 goals. I think Neto's got 2, maybe 3 at most in the Premier League. But again, it goes back to squad building, right? Because just on wingers briefly, you look at Neto, right? He was never a goal-scoring winger at Wolves. That's not what he is. Yes, he needs to score more goals, but that's not what he is. He's a guy that puts great balls into the box, loads of crosses. You sign him, and yet you've got no one in the box to take advantage of any of the balls that he puts in there. So you've basically signed him, and you don't have a player that suits the way that he plays and suits his biggest strength. Madueke puts balls into the box as well. He's a bit more direct, takes players on and whatnot. And yet you've got Sancho on the other side who's kind of similar. So we've got 3 wide players who all like to, cut inside and shoot, or cut inside and put a ball in. And why have you signed no one who's got box presence? It's just, you're like,
that's what we said this, didn't we, before the show, that you said, are you telling me there's no one we could have brought in? I genuinely think you could have looked around the league there's a number of strikers that would have even just done a job to test the experiment if it was something we were really, wanting to see if it worked. But no, we've what baffled me so much is that we obviously went after apparently Samu Omarodian in the summer. We went after John Duran apparently. Why, when it come round to January, obviously Duran was still available. I don't think Porto would have sold Samu unless the price was extortionate. Why was that profile just completely removed from like the option of signing that profile when in the summer it looked like it was a priority that we were being linked with those names? I can't understand what changed in the season for them to think, oh, okay, all of a sudden we don't need to look at that profile when it was something we knew we'd missed out on in the summer. I just don't get it.
I don't get it. And again, the point is that people say, oh, it's difficult to sign players in January or there wasn't the right ones available. As we said, I'm not saying go and spend loads of money. I'm not saying go and get your top target. We needed a body. There were players that you could have signed from around the world who could have contributed as a bit of a stopgap signing. Exactly the sort of signings we would have made in the past. A Loic Remy type, a Demba Ba type signing, an Olivier Giroud type signing. We could have made those kind of signings. I'm not saying we could have got him, right? But someone like Jean-Philippe Mateta at Crystal Palace, like that sort of type of player, that type of signing. You telling me that Chelsea Football Club, in all of the strikers around the world, there wasn't a single one that was available that could have helped us out. We needed a body. We're desperate for a body up there. And what happens? First game, the window's shut. Oh, injured Guiu out for weeks. Jackson struggling. But it's just negligence at the end.
When people say you can't write it, I feel like on that occasion you actually can.
Of course you can.
I genuinely feel like you could have written that. But
you're this is the thing though, bro. You're asking for trouble at the end of the day. When you do things like that, you are asking for trouble. And I look at Todd Boehly, right? Just last thing on that before we move on to like tickets and shit, which is an interesting conversation. But you look at that window under Boehly, right? When he signed Sterling, Fofana, Cucurella, Koulibaly, Aubameyang, and whatnot, right? Okay, yeah, some of those signings haven't worked out and they've been moved on. Cucurella is good. I think Fofana, I still believe it can come good, right? But you look at that, okay, that is the sort of the age profile and the sort of array of players that we should be looking at and should be having windows like that in terms of targeting that level of experience with some younger players in there. And this is why, for me, with Boehly, if he can find a way to buy out Eghbali or Clearlake or whatever it is, I'd be a lot happier with him because at least he actually knows about being part of a winning sports franchise and whatnot. And you look at the window that he did, how he targeted it. Trust me, if Todd Boehly was in charge, Chelsea, I think Chelsea would have signed Ivan Toney in the summer. I really do think so. You had all the links with Cristiano Ronaldo that time when that summer when Boehly was being an interim sporting director. You look at that window in isolation. Okay, not a lot of those players worked out, but that's the sort of profile and sort of array of players that we should be looking at. Experienced professionals at a good age, and then some young talents mixed in.
Yeah, I felt like he had the right idea, didn't he? He was just out of his depth.
Weren't great, was it? But the idea was there.
Yeah, I completely agree with you. And actually, I just feel like that represented a similarity to what Chelsea was. I don't know whether part of me sort of wonders whether or not we're just being played this Punch and Judy type play right in front of our eyes. And actually, they always wanted to have a model like Brighton, but they thought they'd go and sign these players who were good enough for a few seasons. And then by the time the youngsters come through, but it definitely seems like Boehly's sort of input on the team has been removed, hasn't it? I don't know. There was all that stuff in September about it as well. But it really looks like
he's not been involved in a transfer since Nkunku deal.
Yeah, or like
he's very much a backseat now.
Casado, like I don't know. You don't think he was in there?
Eghbali had to go in and sort them out. So Boehly's very much a backseat at the moment. Like for me, I'd rather have him in charge in terms of, I think he's just got much more of an idea about things, and he would deviate a little bit away.
I think he understands the quality of and the what a high level athlete or player brings to the team, brings to the club, brings to the financial situation, the marketing side of things. It won't be long. People will be looking at the shirts going, you know what? There's not one player really, bar Cole Palmer, that I want on the back. And the only shirts we'll be selling will be Cole Palmer shirts. Like they won't sell anything else.
You get
no
some Reece James, maybe some Enzo, but other than that, you like
the
really
marketing side of things. But no, you need to bring in players to like freshen it up, to keep
signings,
to keep it sharp, to keep the excitement there. I feel like it's obviously, I know there's all this talk about Brighton and there's those quotes, but genuinely, in 3 seasons, if we were in a similar position to Brighton, I really wouldn't be shocked, because I just don't think, if we don't get people went at me for this the other day when I said this on a show, but I basically said if we don't get Champions League, there will be 3 or 4 players, including Cole Palmer, that will start to get itchy feet, thinking, hang on, this is my 2nd, 3rd season out of the Champions League. I know how good I am. I moved for £100 million, or I'm worth that now, or Chelsea's wages don't actually pay me enough if we're not winning enough games. I'm going to leave. And no matter if they're on 9-year contracts or 8-year contracts or what, I genuinely think there will be sort of rumours kicking up that these players want out. And people don't want to hear that and don't want to accept that. But without playing in the best competitions, you don't get to have the best players.
No, it's as simple as that. We need to finish in the top 4. And you spot on, mate. The longer we keep missing out on Champions League football, then the more and more chance there is that these guys are going to think, well, hang on a second, when I was signed, this wasn't what I was pitched. We weren't. This wasn't part of the pitch. We're going to be 3-4 years out of the Champions League. We're going to win like maybe 1-2 trophies or whatever, but we're not really moving in the right direction. That definitely was not part of the plan at all. But before we move on, guys, make sure you're smashing the likes. We're 130 odd in the building. There's only 47 likes, guys. That's poor. Run those likes up. Let's get this up to 100 likes minimum, people. So keep smashing that like button. Subscribe if you're new around here. That would be greatly appreciated. But yeah, let's run up those likes, guys, and subscribe as well. Mate, we might as well discuss it because it's a hot topic at the moment. The Todd Boehly Vivid Seats, the ticketing thing. For me, mate, people can say this is cynical, but this is my take on it. So to start with, Chelsea and Vivid Seats had a partnership in pre-season. There was minimal, if any, backlash or mention of it whatsoever. Okay. Yes, it's been more difficult to get tickets this season. I fully understand. You've got a co-owner, you're chairman of a Premier League club that is a co-owner of a website that is unauthorized and is selling tickets for all Premier League games, Chelsea included, at extortionate value. Not a good look. However, the timing of this for me is not a coincidence at all. And it points at a bigger issue. It points at a deflection tactic from whoever it's come out from, whether it's Boehly or whatever it is, because they've just had back-to-back shit transfer windows. Boehly's under a lot of criticism, as are the sporting directors. It's very convenient to drop this news at this time to deflect away from the people who are the problem at the club onto someone else who actually, as things go, is one of the is the least of our issues at Chelsea Football Club right now. Of course, it's not a good look at all. I fully agree that there needs to be a level of transparency. He needs to come out and speak about it, or he has to make sure that he's got a responsibility that no Chelsea tickets should be appearing on that website. But yeah, that's my thoughts on it. I mean, what are your thoughts on it? Because the timing for me is not a coincidence, and it screams of a deflection tactic.
Yeah, I have to agree with you. First of all, I think the fact that it's literally coming directly from one of our owners and going over the top of members who have been associated with the club probably for years and years, trying to get tickets is now being affected. I think, first of all, that's just not acceptable. And that for an owner to do that to his own fans, it just detaches him from the club straight away. I think there's a serious issue with that. But I also hear the fact that we're almost in like this from since that story broke in September, we're almost in like this ownership civil war. And it's like Boehly will put out like press releases to basically sort of hinder and badmouth Boehly at any opportunity. And he should be under a lot of heat right now, because if we're moving in his direction, it obviously suggests we might not be good enough. And we've got serious concerns around the squad and the on-pitch side of things. Whereas he's obviously put this out probably to deflect, because like you said, this was all well known at the beginning of the season, or when Boehly took over the club. Like Rain Bank would have been aware of this. Was it Rain? I think it was Rain.
Yeah, it was a Rain group. Everyone knew about this. Barley knew about it. Like it's out there. This is not some
Yeah.
sort of secret information. This is very easy to find this out. And Boehly probably would have declared that as his interests or whatever. So this isn't just suddenly appeared. It's not like, oh, in the last week we've just found out that, oh my God, Boehly's is a co-owner of this website that is an unauthorized website that resells tickets well above face value. No, it's not.
Yeah, I went on and had a look, by the way. So right now, I think this is our next home game, maybe Chelsea Southampton.
Yeah,
one
next
of
home
them.
game Southampton. Yeah.
So the lowest price you can get on there is £104 for East Lower Section 4. Right, the highest price is over £1,000, and I think it's a hospitality seat. But most of them average out East Upper, like West Matthew Harding Upper Shed Upper, around 130 to 170 quid. They sort of are falling in between that bracket. So it's almost like 3 times the normal price of what a ticket should be. There's 213 listings on there for that game. So
yeah,
and apparently they're skimming off like about 1,000 a game, I was told the other day. So it is a huge amount of members missing out on a game, but they ultimately believe that if people decide to buy these tickets off of these resale websites, they obviously are going to spend more money in the ground, and ultimately Chelsea need to make more revenue if we are going to be able to sign more players, because that's how the new rules around PSR are going to go. You have to spend a certain percentage of your revenue.
Yeah, no, this is where people get this wrong. This didn't come out because Johnny Minerals was talking about it. This has not come out because of that. This has been known for ages. This is not some new discovery in the last couple of weeks that Boehly suddenly become a co-owner of a website. Chelsea had a partnership with Vivid Seats in pre-season, an official partnership between Chelsea and Vivid Seats. Where was all the outrage then? No one said anything about it whatsoever. It's been well-known public information that Todd Boehly is a co-owner of this website. So why is this news just suddenly, oh, let's release this news now?
Right. Director Mr. Boehly has served as a member of our board of directors since 2021. He co-founded and serves as the chairman and CEO.
Yes, there was a protest, but that was a Football Supporters Association protest about exploiting fan loyalty. This was not about the website. This was about exploiting fan loyalty and ticketing prices.
By the way, it's not about being against Johnny Minerals either. It's just about being against what's happening at the club. It doesn't matter who broke the story first or where it come from. It was common knowledge and public knowledge since 2021 when Vivid Seats put it on their website who their director and CEO was.
Yeah, this is all common knowledge. Bro, this was, if you wanted to find this information out, you could have gone and found it out. It doesn't need to be publicly announced to everyone. Oh, by the way, this is one of my business interests or whatever. You don't need to tell that. If you wanna find that out, go and find it out. No problem. Yeah, it was definitely a pre-season partnership. Yeah. No, I'm not saying it's true, but the timing of it is very convenient. It's very. Look. By the way, this is just my opinion. I'm not saying it's right, and I'm not saying that other people's opinions are wrong. But the timing of it is more than just a coincidence, in my opinion. Why is this coming out now? Why now? Why not at the start of the season? Why not when we were doing well? Why not when, why not during the transfer window? Why has it come out right now? What is the purpose of this coming out now?
Yeah, I think the only reason this has come out now, because there was obviously the protest at the game the other day with the joint protest where it was about exposing loyalty in football. West Ham obviously joined forces with Chelsea. There was a viral video that went around on TikTok that wasn't Johnny Minerals. It wasn't Eunice. It was a guy who was at the game who goes to a lot of games, and he's a member. And he was saying he bought a ticket off a friend who charged him double more than face value. And he was the one that organised the protest with the West Ham fans. It was all done and went viral on the back of that West Ham game. And I think that's the reason it's being conversated now, and it's being brought to the attention of a number of Chelsea fans. But there was public knowledge of this being something that Todd Boehly was involved in before this moment against West Ham.
Yeah. But this is the point that people
I'm
are
pretty
missing.
sure, actually, that they were the official like reseller of our pre-season tour.
Yeah, they
or
were.
something along those lines.
There was the official partnership, and no one said anything about it. No, bro, he didn't discover it. This is not new news. He's been part of it since 2021, as Dan said. He's been on a cone or on the board of that organization for the last 4 years, 3-4 years. Saying nobody knew about it. People didn't want to look at it. People didn't want to look into it. Why would you look into that as a Chelsea fan? Why would you be looking at, into Todd Boehly's, business interests or whatever?
Yeah.
This is not new information. If you wanted to know about this information, you could have found that out. You could have easily found that out. No issue. No issue there whatsoever. By the way, regardless of who it is, whether it's Boehly or whether it's another business person, whoever it might be, the exploiting of tickets and taking tickets away from members and season ticket holders. This is not a Chelsea issue, by the way. This is a Premier League wide issue, and also in Europe as well. Probably the taking of tickets from match-going fans, season ticket holders, and giving them to rich people or selling them for an extortionate price is not acceptable. That shouldn't be happening. But this is a wider issue. This is a wider issue than Chelsea. This is a wider issue than Todd Boehly. So why people are looking at this as just a Chelsea issue? This is not a Chelsea issue. It's an issue for Chelsea, but it's an issue for every single Premier League club. And so when people say, people are lying, or you're not telling the truth and pushing for resignation and whatnot, it's not about that. This is not new information. This is not new information whatsoever. It isn't. It's a problem. It is a problem. I'm not sitting there and saying this is not a problem. This is a huge issue for all Premier League clubs. But a bigger issue is the fact that people are paying this money for it. That's an even bigger problem.
Yeah, I completely. We're almost a victim of our own success, aren't we? That we've got ourselves into a position where we're big enough and attractive enough as a club that people are willing to pay a huge amount of money to come and see Chelsea and go to Stamford Bridge, and getting tickets through membership and the ticketing portal on the website is incredibly difficult. This season's probably been the worst I've ever experienced.
It's very difficult, yeah.
Yeah, it is. It's really bad. And I mean, it's pot luck of the draw. They like to throw it up into free-for-all, so it doesn't even matter on loyalty points half the time. It is one of the most difficult periods in time to get a Chelsea ticket as a fan, especially a fan that's a member, that's been a member for the majority of their life. I'm not the only one in that position. There are so many members that are voicing their opinions around this. The fact that it's now been made public knowledge, no matter where it's found, no matter who broke the story, now Chelsea fans will feel, I think, a break of trust in the relationship between them and Todd Boehly, being in charge of the club and basically doing them over for extra money, or giving those tickets to obviously people coming to view the team, probably more likely on the tourist side of the game, rather than actually a fan who's there that cares about the club and has been there supporting that team wherever they were born, wherever they grew up for years and years and years. They're probably not able to go and pay those sort of ticket prices week in, week out, because they're just absolutely extortionate. The fact I've read through all of the people that sort of are involved in that. Todd Boehly is the only person involved with a Premier League club that is in a director or chair position or high up position there. So it's not great. I'll be honest. I don't know how Rain Group didn't flag that as an issue. I think that is something that needs to probably be looked at, because if that had been put to the Chelsea fans, that there's going to be an owner in place that is skimming tickets off the top of members.
Do we actually know he's making any money off it himself?
Yeah, 10%.
10%
of every sale. Yeah. So
is that going directly to him?
Okay, so someone I was speaking to said to me, and I don't know what maths they did exactly, but they said to me, working it out, he could potentially be making 500 grand a game, or the company could, off of one Chelsea fixture, if they sell 1,000 tickets, something like that, on the average price that they sell for. So whether or not that is true, I can't vouch for that. I don't know what the exact maths was, but someone said that to me. And either way, he will be making money because it's Todd Boehly and he wouldn't be involved. And when you look at the board of directors and the independent directors that are involved, they work for Google, Microsoft, equity firms, like you name it, Cracker Barrel, like huge companies with very, very rich people are involved in Vivid Seats. It's the same sort of thing as like what a number of other websites do, but I think they make their money in a slightly different way. The way they get their tickets is slightly different. Like they're officially given tickets from members' allocations at the club, that's where I think there's going to be a real issue here. However you dress it up, I think the relationship between Todd Boehly and Chelsea is very, very fractured at this moment in time.
He has to come out and comment on it. He has to come out and say something. He has to now. Like he has to say something. Look, I'm not defending him, by the way. I'm not defending this at all. I'm not defending it at all. I want to make that very clear. He needs to come out now and speak about this. But until the laws on touting get tougher, or it's cracked down on more, this is still going to be a problem. You know, this is going to be a problem regardless. You know,
this is almost like professional touting, isn't it?
This is professional touting at the end of the day.
Yeah.
But mate, you go to games, you see it all the time, right? You're walking down to the ground, you got guys standing on street corners. Any spare tickets for the game, or whatever.
Yeah.
They're looking for tickets and they're going to buy them and then they're going to sell them for like 100-200 quid. Touting, this is professional level touting, right? But ticket touting is going on everywhere. And until clubs and the Premier League actually clamp down on this, make it, well, supposedly it's a criminal offence, but I don't see any action being taken on it. Until people clamp down on it and take far more severe action, this is just still going to happen. This is just going to happen, continue to happen. It's almost impossible to stop.
Touting happens at every event in the world. Every event, sports, entertainment, you name it, it happens. It's just the fact that when you've got an owner that's directly linked to it, it's a
massive conflict of interest and it's a bad look.
Exactly that. And I think with the problem is with the situation of the club being where it's at and the fact that these owners, there's a lot of question marks around the progress that's being made at the club and where the club currently stand compared to where they were when they took them over. That's why this will flag up and look even worse, because when things aren't going well, people get the magnifying glass out and start to scrutinize and start to look for issues. And this is one of those. But I don't think anyone can disagree with what Charlie was saying, that the fact the timing of this does seem a little bit fishy. It's something just doesn't seem right with the time that it's come out, because this protest could have happened at any point during the season. Like it could have there's some reason that this was all sort of out and vocalized.
Well, there have these sorts of protests all the time, don't they, mate? Like supports, like Football Supporters Association, there's constant protests against, exploiting fan loyalty. There's been loads of them already this season. Maybe not outside Stamford Bridge, but
around the Prem. You even see it in like the Champions League and tifos. Like they have it in other countries, suggesting the same. Yeah. There is 100% a must, though, in my opinion, for Todd Boehly to come out, be very vocal about this, and put it right. I think he has to do that. If not, I'll be honest with you, Charlie. I think if he doesn't and he remains quiet and nothing is said about it, and they act like nothing's happened and let it all blow over, I genuinely believe, and I think everyone would be within their right to start making noises around him not being right to lead the club forward and be the chairman of the club. Yeah, no, I agree. I agree, mate. It's a problem for sure. And even as a bare minimum, right? If they're not going to shut these websites down or whatever, he's got a responsibility to ensure that there's no Chelsea tickets on there. As a bare minimum, you as a co-owner of Chelsea and as a club chairman, if this is not going to be clamped down on properly, then you have to, at the minimum, ensure 0 Chelsea tickets are on that website. None. Yeah. Because otherwise, you're exploiting the very fans that you claim to be, in support of, claiming to do the right, you're trying to do the right thing for the football club. So look, one thing that these successful people really hate is bad press. So that something must be going on. Surely someone's advising Todd, look, mate, you need to come out and say something. You need to action this or whatever.
I'm surprised. When did this happen? Monday night, come out maybe Tuesday-ish, Wednesday latest or whatever. Man, I'm surprised that we're halfway through Friday and there's nothing. Like you would have thought that this would have been dealt with, pretty swiftly. If you need to save face, because regardless, right, this is not good this is not good for the club either. Forget about the fans and forget about Boehly himself. This is bringing negativity onto Chelsea as well at a time that they don't need it.
Yeah, and I honestly, that's the biggest issue here, isn't it? Is that there has been so many different moments throughout the time the Blue Co or Clear Lake sort of partnership consortium have been in charge of Chelsea, where so much negativity and dramatic stories have been brought onto the club when we haven't needed it. And a lot of it has been down to the owners, down to the way they've acted, down to things that they've been involved in. And it's absolutely something that hinders the club, absolutely batters the club in terms of marketability. There's a reason I think that we haven't got a front of shirt sponsor, because businesses don't want to be linked with controversy. And ultimately, right now, with Clear Lake, with this potential civil war that's going on between Boehly and Eghbali, the fact that no one knows where the club's going to end up because it's so volatile at the moment, there are huge companies out there that would have been interested in sponsoring Chelsea, but now they won't, because they genuinely don't know what benefit that brings them, apart from being associated with controversy and a very sort of negative fan base and disapproving fan base of the current situation of the club at the moment. You cannot deny it. There was a moment in the season where it felt like Chelsea were back and it felt a little bit good again, but I feel like off the back of that City game, like the feeling around Chelsea is bad again.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, that absolutely is, mate. And that was the point where I think a lot of people started turning. A lot of people kind of lost faith in what the club were potentially looking to do. But at the end of the day, this is a Premier League issue as well. By the way, this is where the Premier League need to step in, because this is their product, and they need to step in, and the authorities need to set tougher rules. There's only so much that fans can do to apply pressure. The issue's out there now. It's now up to the relevant authorities to try to do something about it. It's been raised. It's out there. Yes, you can keep sending the message and whatnot, but fans do have a voice, and fan opinion does matter. Don't think otherwise. People at the club do listen to what fans say. They do listen to it. I'm not saying they're watching every fan speak, but they're aware of what fan opinion is, and fan opinion does matter to them. It matters to them a lot. But again, Boehly has to speak on this. Simple as that. They don't want bad press. It's bad press for them personally. It's bad press for the club. But there's only so much that can be done. And people in the chat saying, you need to protest, and that people need to realize that protesting doesn't do anything. When there's a protest, other than the Super League, right, which was a collective thing, when has a protest ever really forced any change?
The Super League.
That's the only one.
Yeah, but I do think that showed how there is an importance around fans' voice, and I think that wasn't just one club, though, was it? It was Premier League fans acting in huge numbers and all around Europe. It was a total backlash from pretty much every club, bar about 3, maybe Juventus, Barcelona, Madrid.
Yeah.
So it ultimately takes huge amount of people to march with their feet and make some noise for any sort of progress off the back of a protest. I do think the thing that baffles me is if they did charge less for tickets and they made it more available for the general public and members, and it wasn't so difficult, I then actually feel that members and general admission fans and supporters would be more happy to spend more money at the ground if it was viable to potentially get themselves a 40, 50, £60 ticket to the game and potentially be able to bring the family. But I mean, if you're a dad and you've got to bring 2 kids and maybe the mum wants to come as well,
200-300 quid.
Absolute fortune.
Joke.
Absolute, and that's before they walk into the mega store. They want to get a hot dog
Food,
that costs a tenner.
parking, transport.
Yeah. It's an absolute joke. So if there was a way that they could reduce ticket prices to, like the cinema, they give away, they actually make a loss on tickets where they sell, like, and then they make all their money up on the popcorn and you know what I mean?
Wonder, mate, how much money, what percentage of revenue does ticket sales actually account for?
So actually, there was a discussion about this the other day when someone was chatting about Spurs on TalkSport. Tottenham and Manchester United make 100 million a year on
they're the biggest
sales
ones
alone, the biggest in the country. Chelsea, they've got probably double what Chelsea get. Chelsea barely crack over 40,000 at the moment under Clear Lake. So we're probably, because a lot of tickets do not get sold. So we're probably looking at about 39, 40,000 a game, roughly. I mean, probably somewhere around 60 to 60 million, 50 million, somewhere like that is what I presume we're probably looking at. Because we're probably a little bit over half of what those 2 clubs are bringing in just because of the size. They're bringing in like what? I mean, what's Old Trafford? 80,000, 70,000? Same with Spurs, pretty much.
70, 75 or something.
Yeah, and they charge premium prices, right? And they make huge amount of profit on match day revenue as well. So I think there's an issue there. And that's why they're saying about putting the prices up at Tottenham and Manchester United. Because even if they made a 20% gain, that's 20 million, which could potentially be another player. So it's not a lot of money in football terms, but it is a lot of money on the books. It's a lot of money. And I don't know whether or not these owners would, maybe they'd be prepared to take a hit. But if they go and build a new stadium, they're not going to lower ticket prices. I can tell you that for certain.
No, ticket prices are only going one way. They're either staying the same or they're going up. Like that's the only way that. And look, people talking about like boycotts in the chat. Like at the end of the day, right? Regardless of whether match-going fans are going, season ticket holders are going, there's always going to be bums on seats at Chelsea and Premier League football. Like boycotting is, and this is the thing, right? Everyone talks like a big game. Oh, let's go and do this, let's do that, or whatever. When it actually comes down to it, taking action, when it comes down to organising a protest, when it comes down to let's do a boycott, no one ever does it.
Yeah, everyone, and I don't think they get enough.
Everyone always talks the game, but no one actually follows through with anything.
I don't think they get enough momentum and noise around. Like, I wasn't aware that protest was happening until it was obvious that it was happening at the ground. Do you know what I mean? Like, there wasn't any noise about that really happening. And people won't boycott because they actually love the club. And that's the whole point, is they are exploiting fan loyalty. And that's what
they know people are going to go. Regardless of whether it's season ticket holders or match goers, but even if it's tourists or whatever it is, there's always going to be people in the ground. And it's not just at Chelsea, but all over the Premier League. They don't care. Ultimately, they don't care what people are sitting in there. They just
and
want
it actually doesn't affect season ticket holders either. So season ticket holders actually have no real issue around this because they're guaranteed their ticket. The only way it will affect season ticket holders if they actually start to cut the amount of season tickets or don't allow new people to get season tickets. That's when it will start to have an effect, which there are actually a number of Premier League teams looking to do that as well. So look, the protest wasn't actually against Todd Boehly and the position that he holds in Vivid Seats. The protest was against exploiting fan loyalty, which is what we were saying, where they're trying to make money out of fans that are loyal to their club. Todd Boehly is actually making money out of people that aren't loyal to Chelsea Football Club and are coming to Stamford Bridge as tourists, probably will then go to Brighton, Tottenham, Arsenal, they head up the country, do Liverpool, Manchester United. They'll go and see an array of games, but they'll pay an extortionate price.
Quickly on that, UK, you can't buy the tickets from you can't if you're in England, you actually can't buy off that website.
Oh, really?
I don't think so. I don't think you can.
I don't know. I haven't got an account, but the prices here in GBP, £104. I don't know if I could buy it, but it says I can buy it on PayPal and they're transferred via email in English currency. So you can't buy off that website, but I probably think you could get hold of tickets on
but generally speaking, and this is not really match-going fans that are buying these.
Yeah, these aren't loyal fans, I would say, because loyal fans aren't probably going to pay that amount of money to go.
No.
I've got mates that will look at that and go, not a chance. I'd rather watch it on TV or down the pub than pay that kind of money to go. And they're
No,
loyal fans. They've supported the club their whole life.
Yeah, but just lastly, I know you've got to shoot. But lastly on this, like, this is the way that this affects match-going fans is not because match-going fans are buying these tickets off this website. The way that this affects the fans is because there are less tickets available for them to buy, because a percentage of the tickets are now going onto these resale websites for these tourists or wealthy individuals to buy because they want to experience Premier League football. So the way that this affects fans like myself or you or whatever is that there's less seats available, less tickets available for us to buy.
Yeah, exactly right. The best analogy I've heard around it is if you imagine it was a pint of beer and it goes over the top, and the head bubbles up over, they skim it off, right? And that's what they're doing, is that there's still a huge amount of tickets available to members, but there's enough of it is now going to another company before it even gets to the members, and they get an opportunity to buy it. And that's why there are people missing out.
And also, just on this quickly, right? Vivid Seats, by the way, is not the only organisation that does this. There's loads of them.
Yeah, there is loads.
Or whatever. You could literally type in tickets for any games, and there'll be multiple websites. This is not just the only website that's doing it. But Dan, mate, thanks so much. Could have chatted for ages. Really appreciate your time, bro. Let the people know where to find you.
Yeah, it's just at BDBDAN on all the socials, Twitter, YouTube, TikTok, all that sort of stuff. But yeah, pleasure being on, Charlie. There's obviously loads going on at Chelsea, but we'll chat again soon, I'm sure.
Yeah, top man, Dan. Nice one, bro. Appreciate your time, mate. Guys, I'm going to carry on for a little bit. Guys, make sure you subscribe to Dan's channel. Is tagged in the title. Yes, some of these are hospitality seats, but there's also, tickets in there from Matthew Harding. There's tickets for the Shed. Yes, generally speaking, they're hospitality, but there are also other seats in the ground as well that would be going, which, myself or other fans could be getting their hands on. That's the point. Yeah, exactly. Live football tickets as well are one of the worst. One of the worst. No doubt about it. They're terrible as well. By the way, guys, keep smashing the like button. We're on 72 likes. We're 130 in the building. We need to get these likes up, guys. Get these likes up. Let's get it to 100. We're not a million miles away, so please do smash that like button. And of course, guys, please make sure you subscribe if you are new round here as well. That would be greatly appreciated. I don't promote a full boycott, but if partial boycott is possible, our fans should do it just to make a point. Well, I mean, look, even if you don't, the thing is, right, all these things are very difficult to organize. It's all very well saying all this stuff, but it takes a lot of organization. And often, as Dan mentioned, a lot of these things never end up getting enough momentum behind them. And look, it's great that this is an important issue that's been raised, that is now in the public eye. But these things rarely get enough momentum behind them. Have you heard anything? Have you heard the rumor that a stadium expansion may be? Well, yeah, but of course it will be. Yes, there might be more. There might be a few more tickets available for members and whatnot. But generally speaking, yeah, it is going to be more hospitality. That is what happens. Yes, all good, mate. All good. What do you think we'll do with Guiu being injured and Jackson possibly? Well, we're just playing Kunku up front, won't he? Because at the end of the day, not enough people are really that bothered, I would imagine. Not enough people are really that bothered. Do you think that a large majority of the blame sits with members? Look, to be honest, I don't know how these, if members or season ticket, I don't know if members or season ticket holders are listing their tickets on the website or not. I actually don't know. No, I'm not saying do nothing. But what the point is that people always mention all these ideas, right? But then nothing ever gets any momentum behind it. Nothing really gets enough momentum behind it. Because at the end of the day, what's clear is that probably not enough of the fan base actually care enough to do anything about it. And look, as we've discussed, it's a massive conflict of interests. It needs to be addressed. It needs to be dealt with. It's not a good look. It's not right that fans are being exploited. So Yeah, it's a major issue, guys. There's no escaping that. There's no escaping that whatsoever. Banners, I think, are the way to go. People watching Match of the Day will see these worldwide. Maybe the banners, I don't know. Those sort of banners, I don't even reckon they'd even get into the ground, to be perfectly honest. Do I think we rotate for tomorrow's cup tie? I hope not. I hope not, because, you know, we can't be doing a similar thing to the League Cup where we just kind of threw that game essentially. But there will be some changes, sure. But, you know, we should be going with a very strong team. We should be going with a very strong team. No, it doesn't work. Look, I'm not saying like there's literally nothing that can be done, but it's going to require a collective effort from everyone to actually enforce, like, you know, to enforce lasting change. But like, it needs to be brought up because it is an issue, and it's not just a Chelsea issue. It's a Premier League wide issue with all clubs involved. All clubs involved. It's a Premier League wide issue. 100% it is. Regardless of how much someone pay for their tickets, the fans at the state. Yeah, of course, the players need to be cheered on, and that's why it's always a difficult balance to strike. You know, it's a difficult balance to strike because you don't want to create a hostile or toxic environment to play in, because that's not conducive to teams doing well. You know, so you need to strike that balance. You have to strike that balance and make things right. You have to. So yeah, look, this is something that's probably going to rumble on. I really do hope that Todd does come out and says something and speaks on this. He has to. And we wait and see what happens. You know, whether momentum's going to be lost on this, I don't really know. They're just waiting for things to blow over. I'm not really sure on that front either. But it is a problem. It is a problem. Yeah, there's been a statement from the Chelsea Supporters Trust. Again, you know, if they're speaking to relevant people at the club, I'm sure there will be. Bro, these owners aren't going anywhere. Like, this is the point. Like, people think they can get the ownership out. They can't. Look at the Glazers still there. Look at Daniel Levy still there, and that's been far more vocal. People are wasting their energy if they think they're getting the owners out. You know, you've got to pick your battles, and trying to get the owners out is not a battle you're going to win. Certainly not at this point. But yeah, obviously, you know, suddenly things are not looking so good for Chelsea on and off the pitch. It's not looking oh, say on the pitch is all right. We're still fourth, but you know, you get what I'm saying. You get what I'm you get what I'm the point that I'm making. Bro, do you honestly think that you're going to get the owners out? Bro, United fans didn't win because the Glazers at the end of the day are still in charge. Okay, yeah, they don't have control of the footballing operations, but they're still at the club. They're still in charge. You know, Ineos own 25%. The Glazers are still majority in charge. So United fans didn't win. United fans didn't win. You know, and look, yes, there's problems with the ownership. There's problems with the sporting directors. Of course there is. Of course there is. You know, of course there are. That is true. That is absolutely true. Yeah, I agree. I agree. You know, he shouldn't be. You know, I agree that he shouldn't be involved in footballing decisions. I absolutely hear that. Yeah, bro. So send me your details on Instagram and I'll send you the money. Let me know. Bro, this is honestly, this level of brainwash that people have become is incredible. It's absolutely incredible. It's like you've been brainwashed to be part of a cult. No one's been paid off by anyone. Do you want to believe that? I mean, it's amazing, isn't it? People literally believe anything. People believe anything that gets said. Pure levels of brainwashed delusion here. I've been paid by the club. Don't even know who I am, and you think that I've been paid by the football club? Incredible. But yeah, mate, if that makes you happy, no problem at all. If that makes you happy, that helps you sleep at night. If you think that people are being paid by the club not to say things, then yeah, great, no problem. The ticket touting situation is not just a Chelsea problem; it's a problem everywhere. But yeah, I agree. It's something that desperately needs to be sorted out. Desperately needs sorted out. Mate, no one's being paid off by the club. It's the biggest myth going and the biggest load of BS imaginable. But yeah, look, if you believe that, that's fine. No problem. People are entitled to believe what they want to believe. Yeah. If we can't do banners in stadiums, at least banners outside and chance. Yeah, look, by the way, guys, this is not my responsibility to sort all this out. just putting it out there. This is obviously not my responsibility to sort all this out. But yeah, I fully hear what you're saying. Yeah, exactly. It could always be worse. No, I'm not saying that nobody takes backhanders in life, but to think that the club are going to be paying off a few content creators is nonsense. Utter nonsense. At the end of the day, guys, someone can organize a boycott, but ultimately, even if match-going fans boycott, there's still going to be people that go and buy the tickets. Like, there's still going to be people in there. Like, this idea that people think that you can get like an empty stadium or a 3/4 empty stadium, that's just not going to happen, because people will always want to go to the matches. People are always going to want to go to the matches. That's the reality. So yeah, okay, I could say I'm not going. Like, other match-going fans could say they're not going, but other people are going to go. Other people are going to go. So the chances of actually pulling off a successful boycott are very, very slim. Very, very slim. I've got no idea whether that's true or not. I don't believe that to be true. I know quite a lot of those people. Whether it's true or not, I don't know. I don't know. But I certainly haven't. And it is something that people like to say. Not about me specifically, but so yeah, it is what it is, really, guys. But yeah, it's tricky. It's a tricky situation. People do need to yeah, but the thing is, though, like, that's just not going to happen. We can say all these things, but we know that these things aren't gonna happen. And sure, look, these are. I'm not saying that these are bad ideas, right? But but actually transferring it from an idea to a reality is very, very difficult, and it requires a lot of people pulling in the same direction. You need to get the supporters' trust on board to really get anywhere with it. It's very difficult to organise a protest off your own back. You need to get the supporters' trusts on board. You need to get the relevant parties on board with it. It's not an easy thing to do. It really isn't an easy thing to do, guys. It's really not. So yeah, that's what I'd say on that. And I'm not saying that people shouldn't try. Look, if people organize something and there's a good way round going to do things, then yeah, of course, if I believe in the message being sent, then I will obviously take part in things. Absolutely, but it's just more the fact that, you know, the actual getting it from an idea to becoming a reality is tricky. You know, and look, I speak to people, you know, at the grounds all the time. You know, you gauge fan opinion and things like that. So look, let's wait and see, guys. Let's wait and see if anything comes of this. Let's wait and see what future plans there are. But again, look, I'm not saying that any of these are bad ideas or shouldn't happen. It's just the reality is it's very hard to actually. It's very difficult to move these things forward without the relevant chat, without the relevant, you know, parties on board with it as well. It is a tricky thing to do. Wait, I didn't go there because I was sat in I was already in the ground because me and a few others were a guest of Ascot Hotels, so we were already in the ground before that happened, which is why I wasn't there. I don't care if it's Johnny. I don't care who it is. You know, there was a few people there. I don't know how many people there. There weren't that many. It doesn't matter how many was there at the end of the day. I wasn't there because I was already inside. So. No, I'm not right in the club. I will always support. I will always be a Chelsea fan, regardless of who the owners are. You know, I'm very fair in my criticism. You know, I'm very critical of things, and I'll also praise where it's due. And yeah, you know, stuff does need to be done about this. Stuff absolutely needs to be done about it. And I always try and be fair in my opinions. When did I laugh at how many people turned up? No, I don't remember that. No, I don't have recollection of that. If you could tell me where that happened, please do let me know. You know, I've got look. I support any people that what in the studio. I mean, I don't remember that. But look, end of the day, it's whether I think it's, you know, I do support. You know, I don't want fan. I'm a match going fan. I don't want to be exploited. I absolutely don't want to be exploited at all. And it's an issue that has to be dealt with. It's absolutely an issue that has to be dealt with. I know I wasn't at the protest, but there were at least 30 or over 38, 39,000 other people that also weren't at the protest. You know, but that doesn't mean they don't care. You know, that doesn't mean that I don't care about it. It doesn't mean that other people don't care about it. It obviously, I don't know how well advertised it was or how well promoted it was, how many people actually knew about it. You know, no, bro, I appreciate it. Look, I try to be very transparent and very honest in my opinions on the ownership. I really do. I really do try and be as honest and as transparent as possible. Bro, me and a few others were a guest of Ascot Hotels for that West Ham game, and when the protest started at 6:30, we were already inside the ground. So if I hadn't been there, if I wasn't in the ground, then sure, I would have been there. Right, it is we can't do anything, but I hope they change their model and start doing things right. Yeah, you've got to get enough people to turn up. Of course you do. Of course you do. But yeah, look, yeah, it's things that must be addressed, guys. No doubt about it. It's things that absolutely must be addressed. I don't know. I don't know him personally at all. It's not something that could be ever ruled out. But yeah, look, I don't know him. I don't particularly watch an awful lot of his content. You know, respect for what he's doing and what it is. Mate, I would have gone. I would have gone. You know, it's outside the ground at 6:30. If I was, I would have gone and seen what it was about. Look, exploiting fan loyalty very much affects me because I'm a match going fan that goes week in, week out, up and down the country. It is something that I believe that I fully support and get behind. So yeah, of course I would go. Bro, look, whether I go or not makes absolutely zero difference. Whether I go or not, I support, you know, fans being treated in the right way. Absolutely, you know. But I'm not the only person that wasn't there, by the way. No, I'm not the only person that wasn't there. There were thousands and thousands of other people who weren't there. Thousands of other people. Guys, we're 10 likes away from 100 likes. Please keep smashing the like button. It's free. Takes seconds to do. Run it up, run it up, run it up. It would be greatly appreciated. So yeah, run these likes up, guys. Going to go for another couple minutes and then we'll round this one out. No, it was a Football Supporters Association protest where it was obviously West Ham and Chelsea fans coming together to raise awareness about fan loyalty being exploited through ticketing prices. That's what I understood it to be. I hadn't really heard much of it. I was aware of it, but it wasn't like, if you didn't have social media or if you wouldn't really have any means of being aware of it. I personally didn't really see it particularly well advertised anywhere. What is going on? Yeah, bro, as I said, because myself and a few others were guests of Ascot Hotels, who are the hotel partner with Chelsea, and we were obviously in the ground early, so that's why I wasn't there. Yes, bro, big up, big up. Hope you're doing well, mate. Definitely catch up soon. Yeah, look, by the way, guys, this is not my fault. You know, this is not my fault. I speak and I say my opinions. Some of you agree, some of you don't agree. You know, no problem, no problem. But look, I'm pleased that this is now out in the public, you know, and this is something that should be known. This is something that should be known, and I'm pleased it is. Is Guiu, well, say months. He's expected to be sidelined for weeks, is what Maresca said. So weeks could technically, in theory, mean months as well. We have to wait and see on that one. There, we have to wait and see on that one. No, I think it's some sort of adductor issue. I think it's some sort of adductor issue. Yeah, absolutely. This is a very good thing to protest. Absolutely. Absolutely. But yeah, guys, I am going to round this one out. Please make sure you smash the like button on the way out, people. We are 8 likes away from 100. There's still 100 of us in the building. Let's get these last 8 likes smashed, people. It would be greatly appreciated. Please do run it up. Yeah, exactly. That's the most important thing. You need the right people at these things as well. And you need the fan advisory board or the Chelsea Supporters Trust. If there's people from there, then that they can get back to the club, you know, and that makes it a big difference. That makes a big difference, guys. Massive difference. You need the right people there as well. And so, yeah, if someone from the Supporters Trust was there and he's on the fan advisory board as well, let's hope that the message reaches the club. That's the most important thing here. But yeah, guys, I'm going to round this one out. Big up to everyone that's tuned in this afternoon. Appreciate each and every single one of you. We might not always agree, but it's all love, guys. No hard feelings about anything my end. Make sure you smash that like button on the way out. Please subscribe to the channel if you're new round here. I'll be back tomorrow with a preview for the Brighton game, so make sure you stay tuned in for that one. Could even do someone at 1 o'clock. I'll probably be live at 1 o'clock tomorrow as well, guys, so make sure you stay tuned for that little Brighton preview before heading to the game. Anyway, enjoy the rest of your Friday afternoon, guys. Big love for all the support. Smash that like button, as I said on the way out. Subscribe if you're new around here. Up the Chelsea, and Peace.